Hi, this is Jennifer with Make My Heart Smile, and today I'd love for you to crochet along with me. This is a series of crochet lessons where you will learn beginner basic to easy to intermediate level crochet skills. So if you're new, check out my other tutorials in this series to see more. Written instructions are in the description below along with timestamps. And if you've been following along with me, congratulations. We have come to our last beginner basic crochet stitch that I'd like to teach you. And so this is the last of our beginner basic stitches. Next we will move on to easy level skills, which build on the foundational basic skills that you've been learning and hopefully been practicing along with me. So you should be comfortable with all the beginner basic skills after this lesson before moving on to the easy level skills, where I'll introduce more projects that are working in the round, making a magic circle, simple shaping with increasing and decreasing stitches, and perhaps even some color changes. So easy level is different from beginner basic level. It's the next step up, where instead of making something flat, going back and forth with rows, you will then move on to making 3D objects, like going from a scarf to a hat, in other words, where you'll be working in the round and shaping that hat. So that's the difference between beginner basic skills and easy level skills. And then I have subsequent lessons for intermediate level skills, such as some really cool stitches and things like that. Okay, so as we get started here, obviously you'll need all your usual materials: scissors, darning needle. Today I recommend you have 2 stitch markers for the project at the end. Stay tuned, because at the end I have a fun fact for you, and I'm going to show you a practice project that will be really interesting for you, I think. So my crochet hook, of course, as I've been teaching you, is a J size 6. My boy brand is a 5.75. If you're just now joining me, I recommend tube yarn and about a size 6 hook for learning these basic stitches. And so I've got my blue Yarn Bee Beginner Bee yarn. It's tube-like cotton nylon, and it's really been great for seeing our stitches really well. So get all of your materials, get in a comfortable position, and get ready to learn the stitch for today, the triple crochet stitch. Now, let's talk about everything we've learned so far, for the most part. Last lesson was about the double crochet stitch, and you might already kind of have an idea that the triple crochet stitch is just a little bit taller with a few extra steps in making the stitch. So it's not going to be any big deal today. So let's make our slip knot. Let's put that on our hook fairly loosely, but not too tight, not too loose. And let's chain 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, now I would like us to make a foundation row of single crochets before we learn the triple crochet stitch. So we're going to single crochet in just to the back loop only to make our foundation chain of single crochets. And the reason I do that is because I think it's easier to learn a new stitch without having to go into that initial chain. So we're just going to go back, single crocheting, and again, if you haven't learned that stitch, then you should be watching my lesson 2, where I taught how to do the single crochet stitch. So we're going back, and you should have a total of 12 single crochet stitches in this foundation chain. And this is just for demonstration and practice purposes. Okay, so going back, making our 12 single crochet stitches, and again, this yarn likes to curl, so you just stretch it out a little bit, keep going. Now I have not put a stitch marker, so I'm just going to look for that last chain. This is my slip knot, so this is my last chain, and counting always confirms. Okay, so we had chain 13, and now we should have 12 single crochet stitches from the last one I just made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And let's take that stitch marker, as we've done before and always, and put it right there at the end of our row. Okay. Now, let's talk about the single crochet stitch. I'm sorry, what I'm going to teach you today. The triple crochet stitch, sometimes called the treble crochet stitch. Okay, now to lift our hook up in order to do this stitch, as you know, single crochet we do 1 turning chain. Half double crochet I taught you 1 turning chain. Double crochet I taught you 2 turning chains. And you might guess that for the triple we're going to do 3 turning chains. So take your working yarn, pinch that foundation row, and we're going to do 1, 2, 3 turning chains. Turn your work. Okay, so it looks fairly tall, doesn't it? It is a very tall stitch. It's used to give a kind of lacy effect to most work and projects, and it's a fun one to do. So here we go. In the double, as you know, we inserted our hook into the 3rd chain from the hook. Well, with the triple, we're going to go into the 4th because our turning chain is 3 chains tall. So 1, 2, 3, and then that 4th chain from the hook then. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Actually, let me count again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it would be right here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th chain from the hook should also be that last single crochet stitch we did. So right there is where we're going to insert our hook, and we're going to go under both loops of that V. Now we have that spot picked out. Pinch that with your thumb and forefinger, index finger. So then we can now talk about how many times we're going to yarn over to start this stitch. For the double, as you know, for the half double and the double crochet stitch, we yarned over to begin. For the triple, we're going to yarn over 2 times. Okay, so make sure that loop on your hook is not too tight, not too loose. 1, 2, 2 wraps, 2 yarn overs on the hook to start a triple. Okay, and then you have pinched that 4th chain from the hook to go under both V's. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. Under both loops of the V, the full V. Okay, pull up a loop. And for the half double and double, you had 3 loops on your hook. For the triple, you have 4. Okay, all All right, get your hook in position. Remember, we don't want it like this. We don't want it down. We want it just like that. You're going to yarn over and pull through just the first two, very similar to the double crochet. But we've got more work to do for the triple. So we're going to yarn over again. Pull through the next two only. You have two left. So we've got to yarn over a third time and pull through those last two loops on the hook. And that makes your very tall triple crochet stitch. Okay, so let's try that again. Yarn over twice, 2 times. Insert your hook into the next V. Pull up a loop. Should have 4 on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2. Yarn over again. Pull through the next 2. Yarn over a third time and pull through the last 2. It's tall. And it does have a twisted kind of look. And so basically it's like stacking 3 single crochets on top of each other, or with the double adding 1 more step, right? Okay, let's try that again. Yarn over twice. That's the main thing to remember. Insert your hook under the next V, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops on your hook, and yarn over a last time, third time, and pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. Okay, so here, as we go along, you're going to notice there's some big spaces in between these long stitches. Okay, I'm going to go a little faster now. You go at your own pace. You're doing great. At this point, you've been practicing single crochets, half doubles, doubles. You're ready for this. Yarning over twice to begin is probably the trickiest part. When you've got only 1 loop left on your hook, you know you've finished that stitch. So it's really a matter of getting into a rhythm, just thinking of 3 steps. 1, 2, 3 pull-throughs. Yarning over twice. 3 pull-throughs. Yarning over twice. 3, oops. Oh, you see how my loop just dropped off my hook? When this happens, don't panic. It happens to everyone. Undo. Start where you ended your last stitch. Start again. I don't want anyone to be frustrated at any point. If you need to pause and regroup, take a breath, come back to it. That's how you learn a new skill. Okay, looks like I've got 1, 2, 3 because my handy dandy stitch marker helps me remember that and see that. 1, 2 yarn overs. 1, 2, 3 pull throughs. And I talk to myself as I learn a new stitch too, and I just say the pattern over and over. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Here's my last stitch. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through. My stitch marker tells me this was my last stitch. And now counting back, as always, the stitch I just made, my last one. Never the loop on the hook. That's your working loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 V's. I'm going to take that stitch marker, put it at the end of my row. Okay, there's your first row of triple crochet stitches. They're lovely, and it gives your work a wonderful texture and look to it. Okay. All right. Now, let's do maybe one more row, and then I will show you a really fun practice project that you can do in reviewing all the stitches that we've learned. How many chains do we make for turning chains do we make for a triple crochet? 3. Triple 3. Makes sense. Turn your work. All right. Yarn over twice. And we're looking for, to start a row, it's a little trickier because you've got to look for the 4th chain from the hook. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If those chains, your turning chains, are relatively tight, it might be hard to see those. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, here we go. Often in patterns you might read or hear something like, the chain does not count as a stitch. Okay, 1, 2 yarn overs. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through the first 2, pull through the next 2, pull through the last 2. So let's talk about that chain, that turning chain to start. So in a pattern you will often hear the turning chain does not count as a stitch, or it does count as a stitch. Okay, because it's 3 high, it's the height of a triple crochet stitch. Same with double crochet. Okay, 2 chains high would be the height of a double, 3 chains high is the height of a triple. And so sometimes in patterns this may be considered a stitch and sometimes not. So it depends on the pattern. Okay. And if you notice going back along this row, they will be kind of offset. They won't be stacked exactly on top of each other. Okay? And so it's very important that you count your top V's as your stitch count, not the actual stitch, because you might accidentally count that chain as a stitch and your count will be off and then your rows will be uneven. Okay, and because they're off-centered or they're offset, as you go back across this row, the next row will be offset and the next row. And so it's important when you finish a row to count those chains on top as your stitch count, not counting your triple crochets. Okay, so that's a little tip. Go ahead and finish this row as I get ready to show you your practice project. Okay. Again, if you've been following along with me, you have learned, let's see, you have learned 4 stitches. The single crochet stitch, the half double crochet stitch, the double crochet stitch, and now the triple crochet stitch. If you are not fairly familiar with those and fairly comfortable making those stitches, then you need to go back to previous lessons, rewatch those, and practice, practice, practice. Okay, any new skill takes practice. So with the triple, that kind of ends our, as I said, ends our basic crochet stitches. You can do so much with all of these stitches. So many projects. Most all projects include some variation of these stitches. Okay? So congratulations. But in practicing the triples, you can go back and forth with triple, triple, triples, and that would be fine. But I thought it would be fun if we practiced each row, maybe of your practice swatch. Sometimes this is called a swatch. If you're wanting to make I don't know, a scarf or something like that, or a coaster or a trivet. This might be a fun pattern to do, and I really want you to practice a pattern repeat, okay? So before we move on to subsequent lessons where we'll be doing a little bit more complex stitches and patterns, okay? So this swatch shows you all the stitches we've been learning. So I have my foundation chain, and then I have my single crochet stitches, and then I have half doubles, and then doubles, triples, and then I went back to single crochet stitches, half double crochet stitches, and you can see that third loop. Remember we talked about that? Doubles and triples. So it's really kind of cool that you can see the height of those stitches change. So singles, doubles, half doubles, doubles, and triples. Okay, and remember there's a right side of the work and there's a wrong side. And as you can see, it does look a little bit different. Singles, half doubles with that third loop, doubles, triples, singles, half doubles, doubles, triples. Okay, so let's try that. Let's see. I'm just going to continue on with what I have here. I'm not going to frog this entire thing for the sake of time. So let's see, with a pattern repeat like this, where each row is a different stitch going back and forth, let's keep our 12 stitches. And this is where I said that having a second stitch marker is a really good idea. So I'm going to take this one from here, and I am going to actually continue on with this swatch here. Okay, so I've got my stitch marker here at the end of my 12th stitch. Okay, and I'm right here. So let's see. I'm going to put the loop on my hook and think about what I might do. And as you know, this project or little practice project will start with single crochet, well, chain and single crochet. So go ahead and chain 13, make 12 single crochet stitches. That's where I'll pick up right here with you. So if you've got your chain of 13, then we're going to make our 13 single crochet stitches. And as you know, with the single crochet stitch, we do not yarn over first. So here we go. 1, 2, 3 single crochets, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, sorry, I keep having to pull my yarn, 9, 10, 11, my stitch marker is in my 12th stitch. Sometimes I go through it and then remove it, or you can remove it first. So there's our single crochet row. I'm going to take this stitch marker here, put it down here at the end, and I'm going to count just to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so there's my 12th one at the end. And so now the pattern is to, and again I will have it written in the description below, half double crochets. So first we learned single crochets, and now you would move to a half double. Half double has, you have to think about how many chains to start your row, your turning chains. So this is a half double row, so we're going to chain one, but yarn over. Insert our hook from 1, 2, the second chain from the hook, the half double. And remember, we yarn over, have 3 on the hook, and pull through all 3. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. There's our half double. We're going to do half doubles all the way across. You may not be as fast as me, but at this point, if you've been practicing those half doubles, then you should have a pretty good rhythm and know that it's a yarn over and then a pull through all 3 at the same time. Yarn over to start, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 for half doubles. This might be a good refresher too, and that's why I think this project is great. And it also creates a pattern you might not have seen in your other practice. Here's my last stitch, yarning over, poking it through that last stitch that might be a little tight, pull through all 3. Okay, so there's our half double row. Single, half double, okay? And I've continued from my swatch that I was doing before, and yours will only look that tall. And now let's do a double crochet row, right? Single, half doubles, double. For a double, we chain, how many? 2. 1, 2 to start. Turn your work. And we yarn over once. And we insert our hook into the 1, 2, third chain from the hook. Pull up a loop, 3 on that hook for the double, but we yarn over and pull through the first 2, yarn over a second time and pull through the last 2 for our double crochet stitch. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over again, pull through the last 2, yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, pull through the second 2. And again, I hope you've been practicing the double crochet. This is a review of all of them in this one practice project. Doubles all the way back across. Oh, did you notice that I forgot to put my stitch marker? And it happens. We just get going along and we forget to put those stitch markers in once we've removed them. I'm definitely guilty of that. But as we're practicing as beginners, super duper important. See, because right here I might think I'm finished, but no, I've got 1 more, not 2 more, which also might happen. That's happened to me before. So now I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And those turning chains for double and triple crochet stitches can be a little tricky in that you think it's an extra stitch to stitch into at the end, but it's not. So that's why stitch markers are super important. And I had you have 2 stitch markers out, and I'll show you why right now. So for our triple, our next row is triples, right? We've done singles, half doubles, doubles. Now let's do a row of triples. We need 1, 2, 3 turning chains. Okay, so let's turn it. We're going to insert our hook into the 4th chain from the hook, but we're going to yarn over twice. Okay, so since we've just learned this one in this lesson, reminder, yarn over twice to begin, insert into the 4th chain from the hook, which should be the top of your last stitch that you just did. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2, or the next 2, and then yarn over a 3rd time and pull through that last 2 loops on your hook. And now the top of this right here, okay, not the turning chain, but the stitch, the first triple that we just did, creates a V at the top. You see that? Right here. Okay, that's where I want you to put a stitch marker, because then you will know where your then you will know where your first stitch that you just made is, and you won't get it confused with the chain. Okay, so we just did the turning chain and then we made our first triple, and at the top of that, the V at the top of that is where I just placed my stitch marker. Okay, and so that would keep track of your first stitch, and you already have a stitch marker in for your last stitch, and that will be like doubly sure that you won't lose count as you go along. So let's do a few more triples. Yarn over twice, insert the hook, pull up a loop and pull through the first two, yarn over, pull through the next two, and yarn over a third time and pull through the last two. Okay, so you should have a rhythm. 1, 2, 3. Kind of like 3 steps in that triple crochet. Just like in the double, there's kind of like 2 pull-throughs. In the triple, there's 3 pull-throughs. And when you have, boop, 1 loop left on your hook, you know you've completed the stitch. Say it to yourself or count to yourself as you go along. And so this would be a fun practice project. It's really perhaps going to challenge you in switching gears every time you start a row. So after these triples then, you would again do singles, and then half doubles, and then doubles, and then triples. And so those 4 stitches will be practiced in one project, and you'll have practice counting your stitches after each row, putting in those stitch markers, and following a pattern. And take a look at this. Isn't that such a pretty pattern that's emerging? Okay, and if your edges are a little bit, if you find that they're a little uneven, well, that's something you're going to learn about too. Just for practice right now, it's not a big deal, but as we go on to easy and intermediate skills, we'll talk about how to perhaps even keep those edges a little straighter. But when you've got your taller stitches, those turning chains are going to bump out a little bit, and that's pretty normal. Okay, so don't worry about it. Keep going. I think, again, this would make a really pretty scarf if you were using yarn that you wanted to do that with. But just for practice purposes, it makes a fun pattern. Remember, however many chains you do at the beginning determines the width of your project when using these basic crochet stitches. And then however many rows you do back and forth determines the length of your project. Okay? So, I hope you've enjoyed learning the triple crochet stitch. And let's talk about taking notes and remembering what we've learned. So today is just TR. That's the abbreviation you would see in patterns or tutorials. Treble, sometimes called treble, but in the US, oftentimes called, I can get it to focus, there we go, triple. And don't get confused too, a little tip with UK terms and US terms, meaning United States terms and UK or United Kingdom terms, British terms. So they're different. And usually patterns, a good pattern or tutorial will tell you that they're using US terms or UK terms. So I've been teaching you US terms, and this is called a triple crochet stitch that we just learned today. Okay, And here's your fun fact. The term crochet is literally the French word for hook. So when you say crochet correctly, not like crotchet, which I have heard some friends say, that C-H-E-T at the end is pronounced shay, so crochet. So when you're saying it correctly, you're actually speaking French. Isn't that cool? All right. Again, this is the last of our beginner basic stitches, and I hope to see you in my subsequent tutorials and lessons. Hope you've been enjoying learning how to crochet along with me. Keep practicing, and see you next time.